Good morning to all. My work is related with the evaluation of environmental impact of organic egg production versus conventional one. I am Luisa Paolotti from University of Perugia, Italy. Let's make a brief introduction about the demand for protein. The demand for protein is constantly increasing worldwide. According to FAO, meat and fish production will have to increase by 70% by 2050 to meet the needs of the growing global population and its protein requirements. The increase in protein requests has led to a larger consumption of animal products, including eggs, which have become a very widespread affordable food. This is because eggs are an important source of high-quality protein and micronutrients in the human diet, and they are considered healthy and nutritious. Moreover, they have a relatively low price, and so for this reason they have become popular among consumers. Between 1960 and 2020, global egg production saw an increase of the 160.7%, passing from 33.6 to 87.6 million tons. So there has been a very big global egg production growth. At the same time, this growth has also resulted in an increase in the number of animals raised and therefore a series of negative environmental impacts that must be considered and managed to ensure the long-term sustainability of poultry production. These impacts are related, for example, with air and water quality, soil and biodiversity, a large amount of energy consumption, for sure many greenhouse gas emissions, and greater need for resources in comparison to plant-based alternatives. In this context, the objective of the work was to analyze and compare the performance of conventional and organic egg production using real data from a laying hen farm in northern Italy. And this work was aimed also to enrich current knowledge in this field, because this field was less studied compared to the field of meat production, especially if we consider organic production. In fact, there are very few studies in the literature concerning organic egg production. For making this work, an LCA life cycle assessment was carried out in order to quantify the environmental impacts and to identify the measured environmental burdens for both types of rearing. And a relevant contribution was the use of empirical and primary data as much as possible. About the methodology, as we said, the LCA methodology was performed. The LCA methodology proposes a systemic view of the production processes, analyzing the environmental impacts associated with the product, the process or activity along the entire life cycle, from the acquisition of raw materials to the final disposal, in a so-called from cradle to grave approach. The LCA framework is composed of 4 phases as established by international standards, and these phases are the goal and scope definition, the inventory analysis, the impact assessment, and the interpretation phase. About our case study at production, so the goal of the study was, as we said, a comparison about conventional and organic production. And this egg production was carried out by a prominent farm in the Emilia-Romagna region that is located in north of Italy. In this case, the functional unit was 1 kilo of eggs produced during a life cycle, during a production cycle. Here, the system boundaries of the system are shown. In particular, we performed a from cradle to grave LCA, so arriving to the gate of the farm and without, for example, considering egg distribution. And the phases that we considered in particular were the crops cultivation to obtain feed, the feed production, that is basically made with wheat, maize, soybean oil, and soybean meal, and the phase of livestock rearing. Also, the manure management was taken outside from the life cycle. This is the representation of the main diets of the two systems. In particular, for example, in the case of conventional, there is a use of soybean meal, especially, while in the organic, the soybean meal is not used at all. And in the organic system, the fava bean is used instead of, for example, of soybean. And all the crops in the organic production don't consider a chemical fertilizer or pesticides for sure, as it is in organic production. And another difference is, for example, in the extraction of the soybean oil, which is chemical in the conventional system, while it is mechanical in the organic one. These are the data of the inventory, so the main data of the inventory. We saw that in the organic system the production is lower than in the conventional one, so we have lower production and also a minor amount of kilos of eggs per hen. And the origin of the feed is, for example, all local in the organic system, while in the conventional is local, except for soybean that is coming from Virginia. For sure, the organic system considers also a part of area outside area for animals for their pasture. These are the main results. In dark green, it is shown the conventional system, while the light green reports the results of the organic system is the dark green, while the light green is the conventional system. So we see in the characterization level that for the majority of the categories, the conventional is more sustainable than the organic, unfortunately, I would say. And these are the comparison in terms of normalization results. Here we see the normalized category. The most involved was water consumption, then human carcinogenic toxicity and freshwater toxicity. And these are the results of the IPPC method. So we can see that the organic system produces 0.793 kilos of CO2 equivalents per kilo of X, while the conventional produces 0.765. So there is a difference of 3.5%. That is actually a slight difference. These are the results of the impacts in relation to the single feed, so only the process of the feed, and we see that in the organic feed the process more impacting is maize organic cultivation, while in conventional feed we have maize organic cultivation but also soya extraction flour. So for concluding, the organic system appeared to be slightly less environmentally sustainable than the conventional one in contexts such as those examined in this study, and the organic system showed some critical aspects. For example, the need for a large agricultural area, low feed conversion rates, and low crop yields. By contrast, the strength of the conventional system mainly lay in its high feed efficiency. The main difference between the two systems lies in feed production. Therefore, it is essential to develop low input formulation, substituting the ingredients with a diet with the most powerful impact, and adopting strategies to obtain an increase in yields and/or a reduction in resource consumption during the agricultural phase. But it is important to note that the amount of production is not the only objective, Other factors, for example, preventing the abandonment of disadvantaged areas, creating jobs in rural areas, improving animal welfare, reducing the loss of biodiversity, and the absence of chemical treatments all play a very important role, so they have to be considered. Thank you for the attention.